That's important that they specify how you really got to know the one that we calling on in the Bible, Jesus. You got to know him according to the Bible, from the scriptures, and not what you heard, not some cliche, not some fairy tale, but directly from the Bible. But we're going to get into today's lesson because we got a lot to deal with. Last week I mentioned I was probably going to do a lesson dealing with tithes. That show you how much I know. Because we ain't. So we're going to deal with something else, dealing with the law as a whole today. So the title is The Law and the Enforcement. Because a lot of people, like they were singing, claim to know Jesus, and they don't have a clue about what he wants you to do. So they really don't know him. It's like the verse he quoted, you know him if you keep his commandments. And that's it in a nutshell. That's what the whole Bible is telling us about, being obedient to God's law. And that's really how we're going to get life. Some people will say, well, no, Jesus is the one giving you life. Look, I'm here to tell you, Jesus alone, and whatever name you call him, Yahshua, whatever, it don't matter. Him alone can't give you life. He requires something from you. And that's the way it's been from beginning to end. But most people don't know that. They think it's only about Jesus, but then Jesus himself told you to repent and believe the gospel. If you're going to repent, you're going to change from what you've been doing and do something else. And if you don't do that, you don't know him. And it's simple as that. And he's been showing you this from day one. He has been showing you that the way to be with him is to be obedient to him. And when you don't be obedient, it's a hefty price to pay. And he got ways, even now, to enforce those that are disobedient to him. So we're going to get into it. We're going to start off in Matthew 5 with some words that he said himself. And this is a very clear few scriptures that we're going to read. But it's a shame when you've been taught something different or basically brainwashed. This don't even register with you. Just like I've had people, even some people sitting here, I'm not going to call their name now, but I've had people sitting here now today. Thank God they started listening. But I had them tell me when I was first talking to them or preaching to them that, you could eat anything. I'm talking, they sitting here right now. You could eat anything. And then they go quote Matthew 15 when it was about some tradition of eating when I'm washing hands, and Jesus said, well, not that which go in the mouth defile you, but that which come out. And they say, see, brother, that showed me I could eat anything. Because he said don't matter what go in the mouth. I said, yeah, you got to understand what that means. But let me flip over and show you something else he said. And they want to do away with the law. And I read this to them, and that just go in one end out the other. Yeah, but still, he said it don't matter. Now, what he say right here is plain as the nose on your face. Matthew 5:17. Go ahead.
Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets.
See, and that's what they were saying. That's what they was busy trying to do, get away from the law. So they grab hold of a few verses that they don't understand. Matthew 15 didn't have nothing to do with saying you could eat pork or you could break the law. It didn't have nothing to do with it. It was about some man-made tradition, which you don't have to follow man-made tradition. But now here, when he talks specifically about the law, see, that show you, however you've been taught, that's what you lean on. So when I read this to people, they was like, nah, well, I got to check with my pastor on that, because still, it said not that which go in the mouth. Look, you don't understand that, obviously. Because here he telling you don't think that I come to destroy the law or the prophets, which is what you've been believing, right? That he did away with it, right? Go ahead.
Or the prophets, I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
See, he said, I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And he didn't say fulfill it all for you and you don't have nothing to do. Let's make sure. Verse 18.
For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled.
See, that's a real big statement, and it's clear. He said, till heaven and earth pass. We still got heaven and earth, don't we? we walk around on the earth and we can look up and see heaven. It is still here. It has not passed. So what does that tell us? They got some understanding. And I mean, you don't have to interpret this, do you? Till heaven and earth pass, not one iota is going to pass from the law. So that means it's still good. Now you might say, well, no, brother, you know, eating pork ain't no big deal. You know, that's a little thing that the Lord don't really care about. Look, it's in his law. And notice what he said at the next verse, just in case you think, well, I can get around some of the little ones. Verse 19.
Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments.
Oh, that's telling me that, first of all, he didn't fulfill it all for me, and I don't have to worry about it, just accept his grace, right? Because then he turned around after telling you not a jot or a tittle is going to pass. He turned around and said, whosoever therefore break one of the littlest commandments. You mean to tell me Jesus is telling you you in trouble for breaking one of the littlest commandments? Just the littlest one. Let alone the great commandment. We ain't talking about the 10 commandments right here, are we? We ain't talking about the 2 commandments that everything hang on. We talking about a small one. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments. We know he's talking about the Old Testament law because he just told you one jot or tittle shouldn't pass, right?
Right.
Go ahead.
And shall teach men so.
See, you're going to break them and you're going to teach men to break them. You, just a little one, you're getting in trouble. Go ahead.
He shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven.
See, but people don't stop with the littlest one. They want to do away with all of them. But he said, he shall be called least in the kingdom. In other words, Jesus himself right here is letting you know you got to be about his law. You got to be about his business. Go ahead.
But whosoever shall do and teach them.
Oh, now if you do and teach them, go ahead.
The same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
You're going to be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But for what? For doing and teaching them, right? Verse 20.
For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven.
Now that's real clear. How you going to tell me Jesus telling you don't have nothing to do, and he telling us right here, the law is good, even the little commandments are good, right? And you have to have so much righteousness to get into the kingdom, don't you? Not so much praise, worship. Not so, he didn't even say so much faith. You do have to have faith to do this, but faith without works is dead, right?
That's right.
So he said, except you have this level of righteousness, even above the scribes and the Pharisees, which they at least they didn't talk about doing away with the law for the most part. They at least talked about the law and said they believed in it. They just didn't keep it themselves. So they were what you call hypocrites. But they didn't. But now people want to talk against the law and do away with the law. Don't want to do nothing. Don't even want to acknowledge that it's good. When the Bible tells you that it's holy, just, and good. But now he said, except your righteousness exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom. Now, since he's upholding the law, it behooves us. Let's just go back and read something he did in the old days. Exodus 19. Because I decided to go ahead and do this lesson dealing with the law and the enforcement. Because even to this day, God got a way to enforce things. Even though, like people say, well, y'all not keeping the law because you don't go out. When the last time you stoned somebody? Well, no, we ain't stoned nobody lately. We haven't stoned nobody. But that don't mean it's okay to break the law. And that's what we're going to see. And God is still stoning people, believe it or not. And the ultimate stoning, the ultimate judgment or enforcement of the law is going to come on Judgment Day. See, that's what we understand. But now we're going to look at this because tomorrow is the Feast of Weeks, concluding the Feast of Pentecost. And see, when you have some understanding, you know that the law was given exactly at this time. See, the Lord centered everything around his holy days. That's why when he introduced the Passover, which we celebrated about 7 weeks ago, and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, he introduced that with some marvelous acts when he brought Israel out of Egypt. So then it wasn't nothing but approximately 50 days later when he gave them the law after that first Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. because that's the way the Lord works. He work around these days. Like people say, people think the Holy Ghost just fell on the day of Pentecost in Acts the 2nd chapter. Look, the Spirit been poured out on people. You can read in Numbers 25 where the Spirit was poured out on 70 elders of Israel, who the Lord was choosing to help Moses. And here the Spirit is being poured out right here, really, because the Spirit himself is going to come down and instruct you. Exodus 19, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Exodus 19 and verse 1. Since Jesus upheld the law, we're going to go ahead and read a little bit of it. Go ahead.
In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai.
See, it's no coincidence that this happened right at this time. See, this is the time of year we at right now. It's the same time right here when they had came out of Egypt. Because they came out of Egypt in the 1st month, right? But it say in the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. See, we in the 3rd month right now. Matter of fact, today is basically the 9th day, I believe, of the 3rd month. But go ahead. Skip down to verse 10, because we're going to see what took place in this at this time. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes.
See, a lot of times you have ministers, they put down Moses, they put down the Old Testament, period. But how you going to put down something that came directly from God? How you going to put down Moses, who was talking to God? I'm talking about God was in Moses' face, talking to him. And now, even at this time, the people are getting ready to actually meet with God at this time. So the Lord told Moses, go get the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow and tell them to wash their clothes. Hey, you got to be prepared to meet God, don't you? This ain't just no run-of-the-mill meeting, is it? You getting ready to meet the Almighty God. Never in history have anything like this happened. Of people meeting God, you got people going to put this down. Oh, well, see, they didn't have the Spirit. Look, they're getting ready to meet the Spirit.
That's right.
God is a Spirit. Go ahead, verse 11.
And be ready against the 3rd day. For the 3rd day, the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai.
Now, isn't that something? God, this was so important. God said, look, I'm getting ready to leave heaven, and I'm coming down there with y'all, and I'm going to talk to y'all for a little bit. This is how important it was. And you got some dumb preacher going to belittle it. Oh, see, Moses didn't understand. Look, you better be careful. Even Aaron and his sister Miriam got in trouble for trying to talk against Moses. But now skip down to verse 14, because he told them what he wanted. Then Moses told the people, go ahead.
And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes.
Go ahead.
And he said unto the people, be ready against the 3rd day. Come not at your wives.
See, he told them, look, in 3 days, you're getting ready to have a big meeting. And it's with God himself. So clean yourself up. Even told the men, don't even fumble around with your wife. Leave your, he said, that's what coming at your wives mean. It didn't mean, don't say nothing to them. No, don't lay with them. Come not at your, this is so, he wants you to be sanctified for real. Now somebody, probably, nowadays brothers be hard-headed. Well, he can't tell me not to do nothing with my wife right here. He told you, didn't he? He said, be ready against the 3rd day, come not at your wives. Verse 16.
And it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount. And the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud.
See, this was some kind of day right here. When that day got there, it was thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mountain, and the trumpet was sounding loud. See, the Lord just can't show up without a grand introduction. He got to have a grand introduction. So you know what was breaking loose. It just went haywire because the Lord is showing up. He said, and the thick cloud upon the mountain and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that what?
So that all the people that was in the camp trembled.
They was trembling. They was trembling. Go ahead.
And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp.
To do what?
To meet with God.
To meet with God. They getting ready to meet with God. Go ahead.
And they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was all together on a smoke.
The mountain was on fire, smoking. Go ahead.
Because the Lord descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace. And the whole mount quaked greatly.
See, you ain't seen nothing like this. And you got some people put this down, put down the Old Testament period, and here God showed up in person to speak this. Then you're going to try to change it and do away with the law? Somebody don't know what they're talking about. And Jesus didn't co-sign that, did he? Jesus said 1 jot or 1 tittle shouldn't pass, didn't he? Go ahead.
Verse 19. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long.
Well, that trumpet just kept sounding. Go ahead. That's why when he come back, he got trumpets going to blow. Go ahead.
And waxed louder and louder. Moses spake, and God answered him by voice.
Go ahead.
And the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount. And the Lord called Moses up to go up to the top of the mount. And Moses went up.
And Moses went up. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish.
You see what he said? He told them to go down, so I don't have to kill them people. You better tell them, be careful. But now, that's good. Go into the 20th chapter, because we're going to see what he said. Because this is why Jesus, he understood. Heaven and earth can't pass. Long as heaven and earth is here, he lets you know 1 jot or 1 tittle of the law has not passed away. 20 and 1. Go ahead.
And God spake all these words, saying.
Now he came down to speak these words. He didn't stay in heaven. He didn't even just entrust this with Moses and give it to Moses. He came down to speak of himself. And God spake all these words, saying what?
I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
See, now the first commandment, he said, thou shalt have no other gods before me. See, this is what amazed me with these two smart Hebrews. You know, they want to change words. They smart enough to change words. I know that the Hebrew word would have been Elohim, but we speak in English. So, but they said, no, you can't call him by no title. Look, God is, whatever the title was in Hebrew, God is himself is attributing the title to other would-be gods, isn't he? Right. That's what he said. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? So that means if it's Elohim, that Elohim would still apply for the other Elohims, right? That's really not real Elohims. They fake. That's what he's telling you. But still, he's applying that. This is a title that can not only apply to the real God, right? But to the false God. So why are you up in arms about a title? It don't make no sense. He said, thou shalt have no other. You want, like, they got to put Elohim there. Well, put Elohim there. He's talking about the other ones, though, isn't he? He said, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Go ahead, verse 4.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. He
said, now the second one, don't make no graven images of anything whatsoever. Wherever it's at, don't make no graven images. And what else do you not do concerning these images? 5.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me.
Now, the next one was not bowing down to no graven images. So that's the first 2 commandments. Don't have no gods, and also don't make no graven images, and bow yourself down to, because he's a jealous God. Go ahead.
And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
That's who's going to get the mercy, but go ahead.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
See, now he says, don't take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. And some of this name teaching they got out here, they say, well, see, you taking his name in vain. Look, he said, don't take his name in vain. If you claim and I'm called the wrong name, which ain't no proof of that, because we've been scattered out in the bondage, speaking multiple tongues and all of that. But if I was calling the wrong name, I wouldn't be taking his name in vain. Taking his name in vain is what he showed you in Proverbs, the 30th chapter. He said, if you know his name and you're not doing what he wants you to do. Read Proverbs 30. He said, lest I steal And he said, Lord, don't give me too little where I be hungry and I steal and take the name of my God in vain. That's how you take his name in vain, because you know what he wants and you won't do it. You're doing something else. So you taking his name, then you're going to turn around and call on him. That's how you call on him in vain. Take his name in vain. That's what he's saying. So that's the third commandment. Go ahead.
For the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain.
He won't do it, but go ahead, verse 8.
Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy.
Now this is the fourth commandment. Like I said, I seen a preacher go make it only 9 commandments because he wanted to get rid of this one because he knew he wasn't keeping it. And he said, you got to keep them 10 commandments. Oops, I mean 9. He actually said it on TV. Because he said, because you ain't got to keep that Sabbath day, because see, that changed. He fooled himself. He said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. He didn't listen to what Jesus said. 1 jot or 1 tittle shouldn't pass away, right? What do 1 jot or 1 tittle? That means the dotting of a I and the crossing of a T. None of it's going to pass. So this should still be good according to Jesus' words, right? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Go ahead, verse 9.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
You got 6 days to do it. Go ahead.
But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
See, nobody's supposed to work. Not even your servants. See, you got Edomites, they say they Jews, they will keep, they say, well, they don't work on the Sabbath day, but they got business open all over the place working. Because they greedy. They don't want to do what the Lord said here. Go ahead.
Verse 11. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and had made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day.
See, he took you back to the beginning of time. Go ahead.
Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Now he blessed this day and made it holy. That's a special thing he did here. But go ahead, keep reading.
Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
See, that's still important. See, if you want to do away with the Sabbath day, you might as well do away with all of them according to James, the 2nd chapter. Because if you just go ignore one, hey, you breaking the law, period. So this shouldn't be no more good either. But we know it's all good. Honor your father and mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Now you got a lot of people not adhering to that, but you got a lot of lives cut short too, don't you? So one go with the other. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal.
Now keep in mind, I just want to set the mood for you. This is not something we just reading right here. We saw the setup of what God is doing. God at this time came on the mountain, and God is talking this to the people. So put yourself, like we just want to give you a little storyline. I'm going to give you a little story. Put yourself in the mood of what's going on here. The people is at the bottom of the mountain listening to this, and all that noise that took place, they was trembling when this was going on. And now God is talking to them out of some fire. This is an amazing thing right here. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor.
See, so that's the last one. Don't covet nothing of your neighbors, nothing whatsoever. Don't be lusting after something your neighbor got. You get in trouble just for doing that. You ain't even did nothing. You ain't took it yet. You get in trouble just for thinking about it, lusting after it. So now he spoke the 10 commandments. Now keep in mind, like we just reading the words on the page now, but he was speaking unto them in person. So let's get back in the mood of what was going on. Go ahead, verse 18. And
all the people saw the thundering and the lightning and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off.
You see what happened? They saw all that. God spoke the commandments, and the people saw all of that. And it said, it made it sound kind of polite, and they removed and stood afar. You know what really removed and stood afar mean? That means they took off. They were scared to death. They took off. They did. I don't think like we always talk about my teenage son who moved real slow. the more in a hurry you get telling him to move, it seems like the slower he started moving. I don't think they was moving slow at this time. I don't think it meant they just removed and moseyed on over here. It said they removed. Notice it said it stood afar off. That means they got a good ways away. They got a good way. Verse 19.
And they said unto Moses.
Then this is how you know they were scared. What they say?
Speak down with us.
He said, Moses, look, you talk to us. Go ahead.
And we will hear.
He said, we're going to listen to what you got to say, Moses. They were scared. Go ahead.
But let not God speak with us, lest we die.
See, they were scared. They said, look, from now on, Moses, do us a favor. You just talk to us. You talk to us. Don't let this guy talk to us no more, Moses. Because we are going to die. They were scared, but that was a good thing. But go ahead. Verse 20.
And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not.
See, he said, he wasn't getting ready to kill you now, but he is coming to prove you. He come to show you what he wants, so you don't sin and get in trouble with him. He wants you to fear him, but he wants you to fear him enough to do what he's telling you to do. That you sin not. Go ahead.
And the people stood afar off.
See, they stayed over there. They were like, okay. The people stood afar off. Go ahead.
And Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where God was.
Then Moses, he went back over there to the Lord and got further instruction from the Lord, but the Lord gave him the 10 Commandments himself, didn't he? All of them heard that, right?
Right.
Now, let's go to Hebrews 12. Let's go to the New Testament. See, that's how you can prove stuff, Old Testament, New Testament. Because somebody might read this and say, well, see, we ain't got to worry about that no more. Yeah, you got something worse to worry about, though. See, that's what they think. They think the God of the New Testament is easier than the God of the Old Testament. Well, first of all, they one and the same.
Right.
They one and the same. And you going to get away with less now in the New Testament once you find out about God. That's what people don't know. You're going to get away with less. Because now you dealing with him after he done came in the flesh. Hebrews 12 and verse 18. Hebrews 12 and verse 18. But see, people think they got an easier route with the New Testament because you do got the opportunity to come under his grace for what you done in the past. But see, once you realize that, now you got to get busy and still do what he just told the people back there. Sin not. Don't sin. Fear God enough not to sin. See, they done threw the fear of God out in the New Testament. But that showed me they haven't been reading the New Testament. Hebrews 12 and 18. Go ahead.
For ye are not come unto the mount that might be touched. And that burn with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest.
Okay, so now he's talking about the same situation we just read with Israel when God came down on the mountain and talked to him. And he said, you have not come unto that mount. But let's see what we coming unto. Since we have not come unto that mount that might not, that might be touched and that burn with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest. And what else went on back there? Verse 19.
And the sound of a trumpet and the voice of words, which voice they that heard entreated that the word should not be spoken unto them anymore.
See, we just read all that, didn't we? So he said, now you're not coming to this. So, okay, we got something else. Let's see how different it is or how easier it is. That's what people want to make like. That's what they tell you. They lie and say, see, Jesus did away with all that. Look, we read the first scripture we read in Matthew 5 showed that Jesus didn't do away with nothing, did he? Right. Not one jot or one tittle, did he? So we already know that's a lie. So you got to stick with the storyline. But no, we got something different than that mountain, Mount Sinai where Moses and them was at. Let's see how different it is. Go ahead. And the sound of the trumpet and the voice of words which they that heard entreated that the word should not be spoken to them anymore. That's when they said, Moses, you talk to us from now on. We don't want to hear from that guy because we're going to die. Go ahead, verse 20.
For they could not endure that which was commanded. And if so much as a beast touched the mountain, it should be stoned or thrust through with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. But ye are coming to Mount Sinai.
Oh, now this is what we come unto. We ain't coming in Mount Sinai. That's where the commandments was given, because we know we under the new covenant. So we coming unto, but we still coming unto a mountain, right? We still coming unto really the same God, and it's just a different covenant. And you still got to keep the law, and he's still going to enforce it on you. He said, but you got to come unto Mount Zion. Go ahead.
And unto the city of the living God.
Oh, the city of the living God. What else?
The heavenly Jerusalem.
And what else?
And to an innumerable company of angels.
Innumerable. That means you can't even count them. Go ahead.
To the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God, the judge of all, and to the spirit of just men made perfect.
See, we coming on to a lot more because a lot more has happened since then. Even the new covenant has been ratified since then. But go ahead.
And to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant.
Oh, and to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant. See, this is what you coming on to. But let's see if what we coming on to give us leeway to do away with the law. And not fear God like they did at the old covenant, right? At the mountain in the old days, right? Let's see if they do that. Go ahead.
And to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel.
Go ahead. Now notice what he say here, 25.
See that ye refuse not him that speaketh.
Oh, we don't need to refuse him that speaketh, do we? We don't need to refuse the one that's speaking now. We ain't talking about back then. We talking about right now. See that you refuse not him that speaketh. Why?
For if they escape not who refused him that spake on earth, much more shall not we escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven.
Wow, that's even you in more jeopardy than they were, right?
That's right.
He's saying, look, if they didn't get away with when God came down on the mountain and spoke to them, much more shall we not escape. So it don't sound like it's an easier ticket, do it? Sound like you got to toe the line even more now because you even know more now. Go ahead.
Whose voice then shook the earth.
Back then it shook the earth, but now what is he getting ready to do?
But now he has promised, saying, yet once more I shake not earth only, but also heaven.
Oh, he gonna shake the earth and the heaven. So again, people make you think it's an easier ticket nowadays, but we find out you still got to pay the fare, don't you? Go ahead.
And this word, yet once more, signifies the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved.
Okay, now he says, since we receiving a kingdom that cannot be moved, because everything that can be moved, the Lord gonna destroy it. Because if you don't obey, you got to bear your judgment. So he said, wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved. Let us what?
Let us have grace.
Wait a minute. That's the word everybody like to lock into nowadays. Let us have grace. And they want to take grace and do away with the law. They don't think it's going to be no enforcement on the law for them because of grace. That's not what he's saying here, brothers and sisters. All we got to do is keep reading. So let us have grace whereby we do away with the law. Let's see if he said that. Go ahead.
Whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear.
Oh, that's what grace do for you, don't it? This is grace, right?
That's right.
This is the grace you got to take hold to. Not the grace that make you don't have to do nothing. You done away with the law. No, the Bible grace said, let us have grace whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. Don't nobody want to talk about that nowadays. They won't read that tomorrow in church, but they're going to be talking grace, won't they? Well, here go the grace right here. And what else is the New Testament telling us about this God? Go ahead.
For our God is a consuming fire.
Wow, it ain't no easier now, is it? This ain't no easier. You got to pay the fare, and you even in more jeopardy of a train wreck, aren't you? If you don't do what you're supposed to do. You're in more jeopardy. For our God is a consuming fire. You mean this is not Exodus, huh? This is Hebrews. You still in jeopardy. Now let's go to Leviticus 20. Let's go back and look at what God said about them going against his law. Some of the judgments that came with breaking the law. You know it's important he came down on the mountain and spoke it. And the New Testament don't give us no way out of that, do it? Jesus told us one jot and one tittle shall not pass. Hebrews just told us the grace you got better make you serve God the right way, brothers and sisters. That's what he said. So nothing has changed. So we need to see how God feel about this stuff. The law and the enforcement. We done seen the law. We're going to look at some of the enforcement. Leviticus 20 and verse 7. Because see, this is the time of year that went on back on at Mount Horeb. Leviticus 20 and verse 7. Go ahead.
Sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be ye holy, for I am the Lord your God.
So now he says, that means set yourself apart. Be different from the rest of the people in the world. Even people around you, people on your job, people in your family, you got to be different. But you got to know the criteria for being different. It's not something we make up. It is the law. Because the law is what's holy. Right. That's what the Bible says. So he said, be ye holy, for I am the Lord your God. So now if we still commanded, even in the New Testament, to be holy, which it tell you that in 1 Peter, the 1st chapter, be ye holy, the criteria got to be the same. Holy cannot change, brothers and sisters. But go ahead, verse 8.
And you shall keep my statutes and do them.
That's how you're going to be holy. Go ahead.
I am the Lord which sanctify you.
Go ahead.
For everyone that curses his father or his mother shall be surely put to death.
Oh, now here's some of the consequences of you going against what he said. Now he spoke that on the mountain, right? Honor your mother and father that your days may be long, right? So this is still good. To anybody that got a mother and a father, this is still good. For everyone that curses his father must surely be put to death. Go ahead.
He has cursed his father or his mother, his blood shall be upon him.
See, it's his fault. This is how God feel about this. So be careful about talking how you talk to your mother and father. But go ahead.
And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Oh, so this is how he feel about adultery, right? He wants you killed. This is God that gave this. The same one that came down on the mountain and said, thou shalt not, well, he gave you some other information just in case you do anyway. He told you thou shalt not, but he knew you was going to be stiff-necked. So he said, thou shalt not, but if you do, this is what you got coming. And notice, he said, the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even the adulterer and the adulteress, the man and the woman, were guilty. See, a lot of times the woman get the finger pointed at more because she might be the only one left, or she might be the one popped up pregnant. But the Lord hold both of them accountable. The man and the woman, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Verse 11. And the man that lies with his father's wife has uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them.
Okay, go ahead.
And if a man lie down with his daughter-in-law.
See, the Lord covered he didn't leave no stone uncovered, did he? He covered everything because he know the imagination of man's heart is wicked. So he said, if you lie with your father's wife, or if you lie with your son's wife, everybody die. Just kill them all. Go ahead.
Both of them shall surely be put to death.
Why?
They have wrought confusion. Their blood shall be upon them. 13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lies with womankind.
See, now this is okay nowadays in the world. Everything okay, let the world. It's all okay till you get caught with the world. But I wish I could post this sign when you see two men getting married. Just post that sign up there behind them. He said, if a man also lie with mankind as he lies with woman, both of them have what?
Both of them have committed an abomination.
It's an abomination. That ain't nice at all. Go ahead.
They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them.
See, this is how God feel about it. And he got a way to enforce the way he feel about it. And even though we're not putting nobody to death now, God's still going to put people to death. He putting people to death on his own, but he going to have judgment day when he puts you to bed for good. And he called it the second death. So he say, they have committed an abomination. This is two men. And the same go for two women. It's going to be married. It's utter confusion. He said, they have committed an abomination. They shall surely, he said, no doubt about it, they shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. 14.
If a man take a wife and her mother, it is wicked. Mm-hmm. They shall be burnt with fire.
See, even when men had more than one wife, they still had rules and regulations to follow concerning that. So now he said, if a man take a wife and his mother, it is wicked. Just like you got the people stressing that, because it never was no law said you had to do it. See, that's what the Mormons stress. They say you got to do it. That's their religion. You must do that. That ain't the way it was in the Bible. It was allowable. Men had it. I can't teach that it's a sin. The only thing that's wrong with it now is that it's contrary to the laws of man. That's where the sin come in now. But it went on. But it wasn't the law that you had to do it, which is what they say. But even when they did it, they had rules. And I seen some so-called Mormons on TV. They don't abide by none of this. I seen a man that he's supposed to be married. He was married to the woman and her mother. Did exactly what he was told not to do right here. So he said, if a man take a wife and her mother, it is what?
It is wickedness.
What happened to them?
They shall be burned with fire.
Boy, they wasn't playing. The Lord wasn't playing. He said, burn them with fire. The Lord don't play, do he? Go ahead.
Both he and they.
Both he and they. Both of them. The mother and the daughter. Wow. Go ahead.
That there be no wickedness among you.
He said, just get rid of that wickedness. Because it'll catch on. If you let them live, somebody else will do it. Go ahead.
If a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death.
See, you wouldn't even imagine. If you grew up in the city, you probably would never imagine this. But the Lord knows man's imagination runs rampant. So this is for the farm people. He said, if a man lie with a beast, what?
And ye shall slay the beast.
He said, he shall surely be put to death. And by the way, kill the beast too. He should have ran and got away from that crazy man. He said, you slay the beast. Go ahead, 16.
And if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down there too, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast.
See, they done got the beast killed now. Beast wasn't doing nothing, trying to eat some grass. And you done went out there and got him all mixed up. He said, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. Beast should have even known better, God said. Go ahead.
They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them.
He said, their blood shall be upon them. Both of them put to death. So this is how God felt about it. Now let's go to Exodus 31. Let's look at something else he said. See, we saw it's so important he came down and spoke the commandments on the mountain himself. Himself scared the people to death. Then they turned around and said, we're going to do it. We're going to do it, Mo. You just tell us we're going to do it. But then he knew that they was going to get lax later on. So he told them, well, in case you don't do it, this is what you got coming. Exodus 31 and verse 12. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep. Now again, the Lord is saying all of this. God himself is talking. Because after he spoke commandments on the mountain, he also called Moses up to the mountain. And Moses stayed with God 40 days on 2 separate occasions, getting all kind of instructions. So that's why I said the Lord spake unto Moses, told him to speak unto the children of Israel what? For verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep.
Truly my Sabbaths ye shall keep. Go ahead.
For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you.
It's a sign. Go ahead.
Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you.
See, the Sabbath is a holy day. It's in the 10 Commandments. That shows you right off the bat how important it is to God. And most people do not fathom that today. They would trample over the Sabbath like it's no tomorrow. But some of them would never imagine killing somebody. Or even some of them probably wouldn't imagine committing adultery. But they don't know they're doing something just as deadly. Just like we read a man commit adultery, both of them be put to death, right? We read if a man sleep with a man, they both should be put to death. Okay, now we reading about the Sabbath day. Don't you know he going to say the same thing about that? Well, people going to throw this in the garbage can. It don't matter no more. And come up with a new day and all of that stuff. Jesus said, I remind you of what he said, one jot or one tittle shall not pass. Go ahead.
everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people.
See, any work therein, that soul should be killed. Verse 15.
6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord.
Go ahead.
Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death.
Just the Sabbath day. Just for working on the Sabbath day, he said, you shall surely be put to death. Now let's look at something else. Numbers 15. Let's go to Numbers 15. This is just the Sabbath day. You ain't killed nobody. You ain't committed adultery. You ain't dishonored your mother and father. You ain't even bowed down to a graven image. You just went out and did you some work on a day you shouldn't have. That's all you did. But remember, this is one of the 10 Commandments. This is how God feel about it. Numbers 15 and verse 32. Go ahead.
And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day.
See, that didn't seem like much. Even to them, they wasn't sure what to do with the man. Because he just went and gathered sticks. He hadn't even got to making a fire yet. But obviously, this man went out there and gathered sticks. He had no idea this was going to be the last day of his life. He thought he was okay, didn't he? He went out there and gathered sticks, and they found him. Go ahead.
And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron and unto all the congregation.
See, they brought him back. They said, well, this dude was out here gathering sticks. What y'all going to do to him? Go ahead.
And they put him in ward because it was not declared what should be done to him.
Okay, so they wasn't sure. They said, well, we're not sure what to do with this guy. He was out there gathering sticks. We know that. They caught him doing it. But what do we do? They said, well, look, you just sit over there. You on lockdown for a minute till we see what the Lord say. I know that was some anxious times for this guy. Because he's trying to see. And, you know, everybody talk about God is merciful if you repent and give him a chance. But you got to understand how God is. He will also punish you for what you done.
That's right.
And especially if your foolishness is going to get somebody else in trouble and mess them up, he will get rid of you in a hurry. So he said, and they put him in ward because it was not declared what should be done to him, right? Verse 35.
And the Lord said unto Moses, the man shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp.
Keep going.
And all the congregation brought him without the camp and stoned him with stones, and he died. And the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses.
Now you see, now Moses didn't even make this call. People say, well, see, Moses, that law was rough back there with Moses. Well, again, you read Hebrews 10 on your own. It show you that dealing with Jesus, the Son, is going to be rougher than dealing with Moses. So again, it ain't no easier ticket. But now, Moses didn't even make the call here. They put the man on ice. They said, look, put him on ice till we figure out we're going to see. And they got direct confirmation from the Lord. See, the Lord was on the scene. So the Lord gave direct instructions, didn't he? That's what it said at 35. And the Lord said unto Moses, the man shall be surely put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the... Now this came from God's mouth. And you're going to tell me it don't matter about the seventh day no more? It's done away with it. We can change it. We can do what we want to do. It don't matter though. Look, you better wake up. He said, stone him with stones outside. He said, get him away from here. Take him out there and stone him to death. And guess what? They did it. 36, all the congregation brought him without the camp and stoned him with stones. And he died as the Lord commanded Moses. It was enforced, wasn't it? See, the Lord wasn't playing. But now, let's go to John 8. Let's go to John 8 because people like to read stuff like this and kind of make it seem like none of that don't matter no more. They want to read this, but we understand this. So we're going to read it. We ain't got to hide from it either. John 8. Because like I said earlier, now we're not stoning nobody now. But that don't mean it's okay what you're doing. That don't mean you won't eventually, the law won't get enforced on you eventually. It's just the Lord understand that things that went so haywire, so he cannot have man totally enforcing his law. It's still some enforcement, but he can't have man totally enforcing because things are just out of whack, which the Lord didn't want it to get this way. But it's out of whack now. Everybody running rampant. So even among man's law, they got it where they would kill you. The only thing they would really kill man for in man's law is for him killing somebody. If you kill enough people, they will put you to death. They will give you the death penalty. Okay, but that's really hypocritical because according to God's law, the one administering the death penalty probably that night doing something wrong that deserved the death penalty according to God's law. Because they ain't paying no attention to the Sabbath day, right? That's what that man just got the death penalty. So that shows you it's just out of whack. So man cannot enforce it, but that don't mean it's okay to go against the law. That's what Judgment Day is about. But now John 8 and pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead.
Jesus went into the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple. And all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them.
Go ahead.
And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said to him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act.
Now they brought the woman taken in adultery. Now we saw what the law said about this. But it didn't just talk about the woman, and that's what it says. Sometimes the woman catch more heat than the man, but all of them guilty. So he said, look, we caught this woman in the very act, but Jesus not even going to address the fact, where's the man? Because even if she was in the very act with an animal, the animal's supposed to be there and die too, right? We saw that, right? So it should have been somebody else there, especially if you was in the very act. Now, you might not knew who it was if the woman just popped up pregnant and wasn't no man around. You might not knew who it was, but they said in the very act, right?
Right.
So it should have been, but Jesus not even going to worry about that because he know the law said what it said, and this is a trick question for him anyway. Verse 5.
Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. What says that?
See, this is a trick question. Go ahead, verse 6.
This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. See, this is amazing that Satan don't change. Satan do not change. He don't change because he used the same techniques nowadays because people have brought this to us and say, well, y'all keep the law. I don't see y'all stoning nobody. See, they tried to use the same thing on Jesus. Like that mean the law is diminished because we not stoning nobody. That's the enforcement of the law anyway. No, we not stoning nobody because we can't enforce it like that right now. But that don't mean breaking the law is okay. That don't mean you're going to even get away with it. The old saying is true, you might be getting by, but you ain't got away. Right.
So now, they going to hit Jesus with this, and this woman got caught in the act, and Moses said you should stone. Jesus ignored them at first. Because he knew what they was up to. He knew what they was on. So he stooped down, act like he didn't even hear him. He writing in the dirt. Go ahead. They kept questioning him. No, verse 7.
So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone at her.
See, now that's the way it's supposed to be. Now Jesus didn't even say, don't stone the woman, did he? Nope. Matter of fact, he said stone her. Right. He actually said stone the woman, didn't he? He just gave the proper instructions to show you why you can't carry this out no more. And they even got that message. But he didn't say what she was doing was okay. See, people don't act like God is so much more lenient now. Look, God is just giving you a chance to repent. It's still wrong. You still deserve death. So now, he said, let him that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. He said, the one that's without sin, you go ahead and stone her. You start it off. And the rest of y'all can join in. They couldn't do it. Right. What they do, verse 8.
And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground.
And he went back to his business. Go ahead.
And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even to the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst.
See, they call themselves bringing a trick question to him. They got tricked, didn't they? And they end up putting their head down and walking out. Because you can't enforce it. But now, do this make it okay for us to commit adultery nowadays, which is multitudes doing it, right? People doing it all over the world. They don't think a second thought about doing it, but we know it's not okay. And we know it's going to be some enforcement of the law. Go ahead.
When Jesus had lifted up himself, he saw none but the woman. He said unto her, Woman, where are those that thine accusers? Has no man condemned thee?
Go ahead.
She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more.
Now you see what he said? He rose up. The woman was there still by herself. Now everybody had left. Because they couldn't bring themselves to stoning her first. So they all left out, and he asked, he said, where your accused? She said, I don't have no accused. They all gone. And then he said something, because he is the one that actually could have stoned her. Because he is the one we know is without sin, right? So this is where some mercy came in at right here. See, they couldn't do it anyway. They wasn't worthy to do it. That was set up to keep the nation holy. Hey, once the nation had got unholy, ain't no need to try to carry that out because everybody unclean. You just got to wait on judgment, do what you can in the meantime, but wait on judgment day for that. But now, the woman was left alone, and Jesus said, neither do I condemn thee. But then he said something else that people don't pay attention to. Go and sin no more. He didn't make it like what she was doing was okay. It's just, it's open season now because you didn't get stoned. See, the stoning wasn't just because the person did it to punish them for it. The stoning was for everybody else's benefit anyway. That's what the stoning really, that was the big benefit of stoning somebody. It was for everybody else's benefit. What you mean? Well, when somebody sees somebody get stoned for doing one thing and they had that thought to do it, they would change their mind in a hurry.
Right.
That was the great benefit of the stoning anyway. It wasn't just to punish that person. It was to teach a lesson. Don't do that, or this is what happened to you when you do that.
Right.
That's what it was. But now, let's go further. Go to Leviticus 10. Go back to the Old Testament. Leviticus, the 10th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. See, well, we know the law is still good. Jesus made it clear. He said, not a jot or a tittle going to pass. So if you believe in Jesus, you shouldn't be thinking it's okay for you to break God's law at will. You shouldn't think that. He said, if you break the least of commandments, that's trouble right there. For the least, let alone what this woman got caught doing. Leviticus 10, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Leviticus 10 and 1. Go ahead.
And Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took either of them his censer and put fire therein and put an incense thereon, and offered strange fire before the Lord, which he commanded them not.
Now this shows you the Lord is no respecter of persons, because these two guys right here, they were priests. They were ordained. You read the previous chapter, in the 9th chapter, they got ordained priests. They were sons of Aaron. They got ordained priests in the previous chapter. But I guess they got a little zealous with their priesthood, and they want to come up with something on their own. So, and also, show you he's no respecter of persons. You read Exodus 24. These people went up and were called by name and met the Lord face to face. They was in the Lord's presence, them and 70 some other men. But their names got called, Nadab and Abihu, and they sat there and ate in the Lord's presence in Exodus 24. But now it said Nadab and Abihu, sons of Aaron, took their censers, put fire therein, which the Lord didn't command them to do it. Go ahead, verse 2.
And there went out fire from the Lord and devoured them, and they died before the Lord.
See, this is a good example because people say, well, you're not stoning nobody today. No, we ain't stoning nobody. That don't mean the Lord can't take care of them. Look at all the bad stuff happening to people all over the world. People just get killed. You can't even count the ways people get killed. Don't you know the Lord control that?
That's right.
So some judgment is still being rendered, isn't it? Just like this. Moses or Aaron, none of them didn't kill these two sons, did they?
Nope.
They didn't grab them and say, okay, they did something wrong, let's take them out and stone, like they did the man who broke the Sabbath. We saw them take him out there and stone him, right? They didn't even initiate that. They wanted to know what to do, and the Lord told them, stone him to death. But now, this didn't happen to these guys, did it? The Lord can handle his own business, brothers and sisters. Before anybody knew anything, they was dead. In the sanctuary. Said there went out fire from the Lord and devoured them, and they died before the Lord. That's so the Lord is not to be played with, is it?
That's right.
And again, we see ain't nothing changed in the New Testament. We're going to go back again. Because it's the same God, and he don't change. Hebrews 13 said Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Praise
so the same one that killed them, he don't have no problem killing you in the New Testament, do he? Nope. It's not like that. But now, go ahead, verse 3.
Then Moses said to Aaron, this is it.
Now, this is Aaron's son. Aaron is the high priest. This is Moses' nephew who's been talking to God face to face. These are his nephews. You think the Lord cared about that? He killed them on the spot, didn't he? It said, and then Moses said unto Aaron, what?
This is it that the Lord spake, saying, I will be sanctified.
Go ahead.
And them that come nigh me, and before all the people, I will be glorified. And Aaron held his peace.
He said, this is what we've been talking about. The Lord ain't playing. You got to have your act together. You come before the Lord. And Aaron couldn't say nothing. Aaron held his peace. His two oldest sons just got killed. And he couldn't say nothing. But now, go to 1 Chronicles 13. Look at another example. See, so it's going to get enforced one way or another. Whether the Lord have some people do it, which was set up in an orderly fashion. Well, I guess it wasn't so orderly when they got you out there and said, get over there, and they start throwing bricks at you. But that was the ordained method. So that was official. But even in a non-official way, the Lord still go take care of people. Here's another example. Non-official way. 1 Chronicles 13. And you get a couple of lessons out of this. You get a lesson that you could be trying to do God's will and you still could be off the mark. You got to be real careful. This throws out the window good intentions. God, or, people say that all the time. You say, well, do you keep the law? Well, I don't think you got to do that, but God know my heart. Yeah, he do. That's your problem. He know your heart. And he wants you to change your heart. That's what Jeremiah 17 said. The heart of man is wicked, desperately wicked, and deceitful above all things. So yeah, he know your heart all right. That's why he command you to make you a new heart. And it's according to his law. So that's no excuse. People say that all the time. Well, I don't do all that, but see, I still love God and he know my heart. Hey, that ain't going to get you out at the right time. And they say, well, if your intentions are good, it don't matter. Well, this brother has some good intentions here. He didn't have no ill intentions, but he made a deadly mistake. 1 Chronicles 13:6. Go ahead.
And David went up, and all Israel to Baalah. That is to Kirjath-jearim, which belonged to Judah, to bring up thence the ark of God, the Lord, and that dwelleth between the cherubims, whose name is called on it.
Go ahead.
And they carried the ark of God in a new cart out of the house of Abinadab, and Uzzah, and Ahio drave the cart. Okay, now, they moving the ark of God, which actually represents the Lord's presence among the people. This ark represents the Lord among the people. That's why they had to carry it a certain way. If you read Exodus, when he gave instruction about how to handle the ark, he had staves that they put in the rings that came out where you wouldn't touch the ark. He gave specifics about it. They weren't supposed to touch it with their hands. They would only carry it by the staves. Evidently, they must have had the staves, but they put it on the cart, and now they wasn't carrying it. They just going to ride it. So they thought this was okay. They thought they was going to get it there quicker, I guess, instead of having the staves in there to control it by. So now they got it on a cart, and they driving the cart with some oxen, and these guys are overseeing it, Uzzah and Ahio. Go ahead. And David and all Israel played before God with all their might, and with singing, and with harps, and with psalteries, and with tambourines, and with cymbals, and with trumpets. Now they praising God. Now this is a good thing, and they doing the right thing. If you read further, you read the 15th chapter,
They was doing God's will. God wanted them to do this. This show you could be doing God's will, but at that moment you're doing it the wrong way. You're making an error in it, and you still gonna pay for that. So they dance, and that's what people say, well, I'm gonna dance like David, I'm gonna sing like David. That's good, but you better make sure you don't make the mistake that David made here, or somebody might die while you dancing. See, they don't tell you that though. They don't tell you that at church while they doing all the singing and dancing like David, that somebody could die. And I guarantee you, no matter how full of the Spirit people are, that show you that can be phony. You so full of the Spirit, I guarantee you somebody come up in there, come up dead right quick. I bet you the Spirit leave right away. Everybody be looking, what happened? They dead. I bet that end all the singing, because it did right here. They were singing and dancing with harps. They had instruments. They had trumpets. They had it going on, as they say, right? They was praising the Lord for real. Verse 9.
And when they came unto the threshing floor of Sidon, Uzzah put forth his hand to hold the ark.
Why?
For the oxen stumbled.
Oh, he didn't have no ill intentions. In other words, he wasn't even trying to do wrong, brothers and sisters. People say, well, if God know your intent, that don't mean nothing. If you steal out of line, you subject to pay the price. You subject to pay the penalty. Just like accident or ignorance is no excuse. It ain't even no excuse when it comes to what God has said. He might have some mercy on you at judgment day if you did some accident, but he can deal with you right here and now. So this guy didn't mean nothing bad, did he? The oxen stumbled. It must have been a dip in the road or something. The oxen stumbled. That's what it said. And evidently the ark that's riding on the cart started to tip. So it said, verse 9, and when they came unto the threshing floor at Sidon, Uzzah put forth his hand to hold the ark. He didn't just intend on touching the ark, because he shouldn't have did it. Right. But he did it because it said, for the oxen stumbled. The oxen stumbled, and evidently the ark shook, right? Now he tried to do a good deed. Oh, I got to save the ark. And the man grabbed the ark, and let's see what happened. Verse 10.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and he smote him, because he put his hand to the ark, and there he died before God.
Wow, boy, the Lord don't play. And this is the same God in the New Testament. This is how he feel about it. See, because they should have did things in order, and it wouldn't have came to this.
That's right.
So how you going to tell me you going to do away with, or his law done away with, it don't matter no more, and he killing people all over the place for this? That wouldn't even be fair to them. Say, God, you was real mean. You killed me on the spot. At judgment day, others can rise up on God. And you going to let them break all your law and it's okay? And you killed me, I just touched the ark, God. But God going to say, don't worry, when you see what happened to him, you going to understand. Because some people are not going to get theirs till judgment day. So now it said the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and he smote him because he put his hand to the ark, and there he died before God. That shows you God don't play. He gave you what he wants you to do, and he expects you to do. It wouldn't have been hard for them to do the way the Lord said do it. Matter of fact, it took David 3 months to regroup after this, because David was scared to death, because he was doing God's will. He just didn't follow the instruction that he had. It took him 3 months. He just left the ark right there. They said, look, just leave it there. We got to go back to the drawing board. We got to figure this out. This guy we dealing with, he don't play. Right. So David went back, sought the Lord. Then he realized, he said, look, about 3 months later, he got them all back together, and they finally did it right. They said, look, we're going to get the Levites. They're going to carry this thing like it said in Exodus, because people might have said, people say that all the time. Well, see, we in modern times now. We in modern times. You ain't got to go by that old stuff. That's probably what David and them thought. But they scrapped that cart business after that. They went back to old time, doing it the old-fashioned way. That's what he told the Levite. He said, look, we're going to do it like it's written. Right. Because we didn't do it the first time, the brother died. Right. We ain't making that mistake. So they sought him the right way. That's what the Lord wants. Now, let's go to Acts 5. Because the first thing come out people's mouth, oh yeah, see, that's that Old Testament God. He hard, boy. He was hard. But see, that's why I like Jesus and the New Testament. He won't kill nobody like that. Well, we gonna see. That's why we got the New Testament. We can read it. See, when you start talking with your mouth, we turn over the page and read it to you.
Praise the Lord.
Because anybody can say anything. We all can talk, right?
Right.
But what matters is what you can read. Right. So now, let's see if the New Testament is any easy. We see even when didn't nobody else enforce the law, God enforced it, didn't he? He killed Aaron's 2 sons, Nadab and Abihu, and he just killed Uzzah, who had good intentions. But he made the wrong move. So let's look at the New Testament. Acts 5:1. Go ahead.
But a certain man named Ananias, went to Sapphira, his wife, for her possession, and kept back part of the price, his wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. Okay, now everybody had made agreements with the apostles. They said they're going to sell stuff, and they're going to donate the money, give them the money. So they all made agreement, which was up to them. They had to make this agreement on their own. Nobody forced them to do this. So they made this agreement, but then this couple decided that they wasn't going to keep the agreement. Even if they wanted to change their mind, the stuff belonged to them. If you change your mind, just say you changed your mind. But see, what got them in trouble is they going to lie. That's what got them in trouble. They are going to lie. The Lord don't like lies. So they going to lie, and the mistake they made is they thought they was just dealing with Peter and the apostles. See, some people think this is just about men. But if we really serving God, then it's about God. So you ain't lying to men, you lying to God. Or you ain't sinning against men, you sinning against God. So that's what they did. They going to bring it to the apostles' feet. Verse 3. But Peter said, Ananias, why has Satan filled that heart to lie to the Holy Ghost and to keep back part of the price of the land? See, now, they didn't know they was dealing with God. See, the Lord had showed this to Peter. And he letting them know. He said, why has Satan did this? And you're going to keep back part of the price. Verse 4. Whilst it remained, was it not thine own? He said, it was your stuff. You know, just you change your mind, you should at least just said that. You know, but they didn't want to look bad in front of everybody else. So they want to look like good servants of God, but they want to keep it keep it hidden what they doing. So they want to have it both ways. No, just show that, hey, you got greedy and you don't want to give all that you said you was going to give. You know, now you ain't going to have that so-called reputation that you was looking for. You should have just admitted it. While it remained, it was yours. After it was sold, what? And after it was sold, was it not in thine own power? See, even after you sold it, and you decided not to do what you said, you should at least just said that. They wouldn't have died if they had said. See, what got them in trouble is the lie. That's what lost their life. Go ahead. Why hast thou conceived this thing in thine heart? Thou hast not lied unto men, but unto God. See, he said, you ain't lied unto men. You think you're dealing with men. You are dealing with God. They was dealing with Peter, but see, they didn't know who Peter was working for evidently. He said, but you lied unto God. Go ahead. And Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost. Now he died on the spot. Just like Uzzah died, just like Nadab and Abihu died. This guy died on the spot. Talking to Peter, he died. Go ahead. And fear and great fear came on all of them that heard these things. That's right. People got some fear of God. You mean in the New Testament they fear God? That's what it takes, don't it? Fear of God don't change, brothers and sisters. Go ahead, verse 6. And the young men arose, wound him up, and carried him out and buried him. But what else was they going to do? The man was dead. They wound him up, took him out, and buried him. Now his wife in on it with him. Go ahead. And it was about the space of 3 hours after when his wife, not knowing what was done, came in. Now his wife, she wondered what to take so long. She knew her husband had that big payday. He was going to come back with the rest of that money that they had agreed to give to them, but now they going to lie. So she waiting on, they probably had a night planned or something, I don't know. She waiting on them. Took him so long, she decided to come down there herself. And evidently Peter wasn't sure if she was in on it or not. So he asked her. Go ahead. And Peter answered unto her, tell me whether you sold the land for so much. And she said, yea, for so much. She gonna lie too. See, if only she would have if she would have only got word that your husband dead, don't go down there and lie. But they kept that from her, didn't they? Didn't nobody tell her? She didn't know. She didn't get the memo. So we're gonna test her heart out.
We're going to see where her heart is. If she would have just told the truth right here, she would have been okay. Yeah, oh yeah, for so much. Go ahead, verse 9.
Then Peter said to her, how is it that ye have agreed together to tempt the Spirit of the Lord? Behold, the feet of them which have buried thy husband are at the door, and shall carry thee out.
She's standing on her feet. She don't know she dead. He said, well, they on the ones your husband dead. And the ones that buried him, here they come. They coming to get you. And guess what happened?
Then fell she straight down at his feet and yielded up the ghost.
Boy, the New Testament, it seems a little harsher, don't it? Peter talking them into death. He gonna tell them, you getting ready to die. Now, you dead. Did nobody say nothing to Benadab? Nobody didn't say nothing. They just was dead. At least they didn't get the humiliation of being told you getting ready to die now. They just dead. Others are just dead. Peter gonna talk to them while they dying. This the New Testament though. Verse 10, then she fell down straightway at his feet and did what?
And yielded up the ghost. And the young man came in and found her dead, and carrying her forth, buried her by her husband.
Well, at least they got buried together. That's how nice the New Testament is. They make sure you get buried together. Read verse 11.
And great fear came upon all the church and upon as many as heard these things.
See, great fear. See, that's the whole objective. You got to learn to fear God. And if you need some incentive, God is the one to give it to you. He will give you some incentive. Deuteronomy 17. Deuteronomy 17. Deuteronomy 17, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Deuteronomy 17 and verse 1. Deuteronomy 17 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish, or any ill-favoredness, for that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God.
See, if you're going to do something for the Lord, you need to do your best anyway. And that's what they didn't want to do. They had agreed to do their best, and then they changed their mind. Then they're going to make it worse. They're going to lie about it. So that's what got them in trouble. Above all, they're going to tell a lie about it. And acting like they still doing what they supposed to do. No, just be honest with yourself. Go ahead, verse 2.
If there be found among you within any of thy gates which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, and transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other gods and worshipped them, either the sun or moon or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the things certain that such abomination is wrought in Israel.
Okay, so now he's giving you some more instructions. If people get out of line, see, they had a way to keep things in line, to keep the nation holy. Because the only way you're going to keep them holy is when somebody got out of line, you got rid of them, and that was an example to everybody else. Like it said, when Ananias and his wife fell down dead, everybody that saw that, they feared God. I bet you nobody else tried that crap. I bet you nobody else came up there. They said, look, do what you say you're going to do and leave it alone. So that's the same way it was back here. If they found out that somebody was worshiping false gods, the sun or the moon, and when you checked it out, found out that this abomination is being done in Israel, Israel's supposed to be a holy nation, but this tribe over here, they committing some abomination, then they wouldn't dealt with it. Verse 5.
Then shalt thou bring forth that man or woman which hath committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shall stone them with stones till they die. See, this is you being stoned now for worshiping the wrong way. You can't worship how you want to. That's what people have told us, right? You can worship God your way, and I can worship him my way, and we all gonna get to heaven. You just lied 3 times. You can't do it. And the kingdom coming to the earth. So they would inquire and find out that these people, they would bring them people out. They were to stone those people. See, this shows you how God feel about it. This came from God. So don't look down on it.
just because nobody getting stoned now. God is doing the stoning himself. Go ahead.
At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death.
See, you had to have enough witnesses to put somebody to death. You couldn't put somebody to death for 1 witness. No, you had to have witnesses, and if they was lying, then the witnesses was going to get theirs. But he said, out of the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses, he that is found worthy of death shall be put to death. Go ahead.
But at the mouth of 1 witness, he shall not be put to death.
See, if only 1 person seen you, then you got to live, even if you did it, you could be guilty. But if only 1 person seen you, got to break for the time being. But go ahead.
The hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death.
See, go ahead.
And afterwards the hands of all the people.
Mm-hmm.
So thou shalt put evil away from among you.
See, that was the goal, though, to put evil away, right? That was the goal. That's why Jesus kind of used this on him. He just said the one without sin, let him be first. He didn't say the ones that witnessed it. He said, no, the one without sin, you be first. Because he knew it was too late for that. It was too late for that. That's why he didn't have that woman stoned. But verse 8.
If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose.
Now, if it's something too hard where you was at, with in your local area, then the Lord still has some people that was in charge who knew what to do. He said, then you go to that place, go ahead. Just like we get people here, they get in disputes, they have fights, and they want to come and talk to me. Or they have to talk to some of the other brothers. Well, that's fine, we'll do that. But a lot of times I'll read this because people don't want to hear when they're wrong no matter what. Don't you know, I done read this to people, and I done had a meeting with them, and I said, well, these people, y'all wrong, and they right. Them people be mad. See, but the Lord know that's going to happen. They be upset. But you the one wanted an answer, but you just wanted the answer you wanted. You didn't really want to know what was really right, but you shouldn't have came to me. So, this is what he's telling you. He said, if you come, get to the place which the Lord shall choose, verse 9.
And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall show thee the sentence of judgment.
See, they're going to show you the sentence of judgment. Go ahead.
And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee. And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee. See, now you're going to come and ask for some guidance and some counseling, but then you don't want to follow it. That's why he said specifically you should do it, but he knew you would be stiff-necked. Verse 11, what'd he say? According to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee to the right hand nor to the left. He said, don't decline from it. Why he got to say don't decline? Because he knows somebody going to be hard-headed. They really just wanted the answer they wanted. They didn't really want to know. They wanted the answer they wanted. Go ahead. And the man that will do presumptuously and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to the minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die. And thou shalt put away evil from Israel. Boy, you get yourself in a whole lot of trouble asking for some advice or counsel, but then you don't want to follow it. That's trouble right there, isn't it? He said the one that's going to do his own thing after you done wasted everybody's time, and we're going to have a sit down and talk to everybody, then you still in disagreement. He said, hey, you deserve death. He said the one that's going to do presumptuously, even that man shall die, and you shall put away evil from Israel. Verse 13. And all the people shall hear and fear and do no more presumptuously. See, again, it was for the benefit of the other people too, wasn't it? Right. All the people shall hear and fear and do no more presumption. But now let's go to the New Testament, Hebrews 13. Hebrews 13. We're going to read one verse. Because again, now we're not going to stone nobody now, but the Lord still give us a way to enforce it. Like you heard of the law enforcement, the police? Yeah. Well, the Lord got law enforcement. That's why the title is the law and the enforcement. He got law enforcement too.
And he just was showing you that, even to this day. Even though we ain't going to kill nobody, don't fool yourself and think won't nothing be done. Hebrews 13 and 1 verse. Verse 17. Hebrews 13 and verse 17. Read that one verse.
Obey them that have rule over you.
Now this is the New Testament. And it's the same thing we just read in the Old Testament. In Deuteronomy, right?
Right.
Same thing. He said if you got a matter you had to take before the priest or those that's in charge in those days, the judge, you go and you take it to them and you better listen to what they tell you to do. Because if you don't, you getting yourself in trouble. That's why I read that, because people always want some advice, but they don't want to listen. That's why I usually read that before. He said what? Obey them that have the rule over you. So somebody got the rule, don't they?
Right.
He said obey them that have the rule over you. Do what?
And submit yourselves.
And submit yourselves. Go ahead.
For they watch for your souls, as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you.
See, he said they watch for your soul. It's just like we ain't here benefiting ourselves. We ain't got no benefit. We ain't got no benefit to side with one person over another, because none of y'all ain't giving us no money.
That's right.
We don't have no benefit in doing that. And that happens a lot of times. Sometimes you have to say something to somebody. I would be rich if I had money each time that we done said something to somebody and they said, well, such and such got away with it, and that ain't the answer. That's not the answer. We would be rich. People say that. Matter of fact, people be saying that. I told somebody recently that somebody said that about them. They were saying it. They said, well, I know such and such wasn't said to them. And they seem to always get away with something. I say, that's funny. She said the same thing about you not too long ago. And that's the truth. It's the truth. Because that's what everybody's excuse is. Well, look, and you don't know what's been said to other people. You don't know how other people have been dealt with. But that's what people's excuse is a lot of time, where it seems like they getting, he said, look, verse 17, obey them that have the rule over you, and submit yourself, for they watch for your souls as they that must give account. So we ain't got nobody here taking advantage of no position. Matter of fact, we got brothers here that's elders, but they don't walk around carrying no title. Because you don't need to have a badge on. Only thing you need to do is do the job.
That's right.
That's all you need to do. Even the guy that fix your car, he can have a shirt on with a name tag on that say mechanic, or he can have a t-shirt on. If he fix your car, he's a mechanic, right? So that's the same way with the brothers who are in charge. They ain't got no reason to do nothing but what the Lord say do.
Praise the Lord.
But now, let's go further. Go to 1 Timothy 5. And what are we trying to do? Enforce what the Lord say do. Because sometimes, and you should be careful for saying that somebody is a respecter person. See, that's the thing that people throw out there too when their hand is in the cookie jar or something is wrong. Then they say, oh, well, see, you didn't say nothing to so-and-so about that. Look, that don't have nothing to do with your hand being in the cookie jar right now. That don't have nothing to do with it. But that's the excuse a lot of times. 1 Timothy 5, verse 17. Go ahead.
Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor.
See, notice he's talking about elders, right? Just like in the Old Testament. See, the Lord got somebody that's going to take care of his business all the time. So he said, let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor. Go ahead.
Especially they who labor in the word and doctrine.
Go ahead.
For the scripture says, thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward.
See, you got to be able to honor the elders because they won't be able to carry out their job. Just like if an elder say something to somebody around here, and people don't want to honor them, and people want to say, oh, well, they ain't say nothing to so. Look, ain't nobody paying attention to that. Because you trying to hinder somebody from doing what they need to do. You trying to muzzle the ox. Nah, and they ain't got no reason to do nothing but what the Lord say do. So he said, let them be counted worthy of double honor. Why do he got to say that? Because this is what happened. Verse 19.
Against an elder receive not an accusation, but before 2 or 3 witnesses.
Now, why did he say that? He said, in the Old Testament, he said, don't stone nobody or kill them with 2 or 3 witnesses, right? You got to have enough witnesses to do that. But now he even talking about an elder receiving an accusation. Don't receive it, but by 2. Why do he even got to say something like that? Because that's what people want to do. If somebody correct them about something, then they want to start pointing the finger back. Look, that is not the time to point the finger when the finger is pointing at you. You should have tried to come up with that way before then. That's not the time. See, that's just an excuse, though. So that's why he said, against an elder receive not an accusation, but before 2 or 3 witnesses. You have to have some real concrete proof instead of just saying something. Go ahead.
Them that sin rebuke before all, that others also may fear.
Oh, it come a time for this, right? See, we've been reading this all along, that part of the enforcement was for other people's benefit, right? You know, they stoned the man out there picking up sticks. It wasn't just to get rid of him, just to pay him for picking up sticks. That was part of it, but it was also for anybody else that had in their mind, they might want to pick up sticks the next Sabbath. That made them fear, didn't it? So though we're not going to stone nobody around here, it still means, because people can't take even just the smallest correction. So let alone when it get like this, he said, them that sin rebuke before all. See, it's a way to steal. Even though you ain't going to get stoned, it's going to feel like a stoning because you're going to be on Front Street. Sometime a stoning would have been better. You get embarrassed so bad. And we've had to do this. I've actually had to call people names from up here for doing foolishness. He said, them that sin rebuke before all, that others may fear. Let's go further. Go to Matthew 16. Matthew 16. So now this is the New Testament. So the Lord still got some enforcement, don't he? They ain't going to get stoned. Nobody is going to get stoned, but it's still a way to keep things from getting out of hand. And that's what it's all about. Things cannot run rampant in the house of God.
Praise the Lord.
Matthew 16. Matthew 16. See, but we could be kind of thin-skinned. That's what my teacher used to call it. He said people thin-skinned. Like he said, people say they embarrassed. Well, I was embarrassed. His answer was, maybe you think too much of yourself then. And when our skin is thin, well, nobody won't nothing said to him, but it's going to happen. Notice this right here. Notice even Jesus himself. Let's see how he handled things. 16 and 21. 16 and 21. Go ahead.
From that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the 3rd day.
See, now Jesus telling them what the scriptures say, that he got to die, he about to die, and he going to be resurrected later on. So he telling his own apostles this. But now, this wasn't no nicey nice stuff, but he telling them where it was. But what Peter feel about it? 22.
Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from thee, Lord. This shall not be unto thee.
See, now notice what Peter said. Now again, your intentions don't matter, brother. So sometimes you can have good intentions and still be wrong as 2 left shoes. So it don't matter. You need to be corrected, right? You didn't even mean to do it. Other didn't mean to commit a sin when he grabbed that ark, right? We know he was actually trying to say that the ark might have flipped over and bust all the pieces. Right? He had good intentions, but that didn't help him, did it? That's why the saying, that old cliche is good. It's not in the Bible. Some people think stuff in the Bible is not. This is just a cliche, so I'm going to let you know. But it's a true cliche. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Because a lot of people thinking they doing right. Now the Bible scriptures say that which seemeth right. There's a way to seem right, and the end thereof are the ways of death. See, that's the same thing. Well, see, Peter didn't mean nothing bad. Matter of fact, Peter probably had a good feeling in his heart when he said this. He meant real good. He only feel like Jesus, the master, the one who's been doing nothing but good, shouldn't have to go through what he telling them he gonna go through. That's what he feels. So he definitely didn't mean nothing bad. He didn't have no ill intention, so to speak, right?
Right.
Read it again. What did he say, 22?
Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from thee, Lord.
See, he wasn't rebuking him in a mean way. But he contradicted him. Jesus said, I'm getting ready to die. I got to go to the roof. They're going to kill me. They're going to mistreat me. They're going to spit on me and do all this. Peter mean good. Peter said, oh, be it far from you, Lord. Go ahead.
This shall not be unto thee.
This don't need to happen. This shall not be unto you. So he didn't mean bad, but what did Jesus respond to him? How? Go ahead.
But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan.
Now he told his own disciple in front of all the other disciples. You know, this was, as we used to say, embarrassing. This was real embarrassing. This was bad. In front of all the other disciples, he said to Peter, he looked right at Peter and said, Get thee behind me. So he called a man the devil. Now, we ain't really called nobody the devil up in here, even though you could be acting like the devil. But we ain't called nobody the devil, but people get offended like we have, right? But he said, look, get thee behind me, Satan. Go ahead.
Thou art an offense unto me.
Mm-hmm.
For thou savest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men.
He said, you care about man-made stuff. You concerned with man's perception. You care about man-made stuff. I'm concerned with what God is concerned with. He said, that's what you need to be concerned with. But he turned around and rebuked Peter and called him Satan. Well, Peter didn't run off, didn't get mad. Oh, he too mean. He called me the devil. I ain't say nothing, but he wasn't going to die. That's all I said. That just show you when you out of line, you out of line. It don't matter what your intentions do. Matthew 18. Let's see what Jesus said. Here. But Peter took correction. Peter said, I guess that is going to happen to you. Let me be quiet. Matthew 18, pick it up at verse 15. See, this show you again, the Lord got a way to keep things enforced. Keep his law enforced. Because things not going to get out of hand if we are all trying to serve God. Matthew 18 and verse 15. Go ahead.
Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother.
See, now this is one of the unheard verses in the world among people, even people that like us are supposed to know about God and be serving God. This is one of the most unused verses in the world because people would not tell somebody else something, but they would tell everybody and their mama and their auntie. And this caused big problems. This how it be division building up because you done told everybody. I got people that was mad at me. Lord is my witness. I didn't even know they was mad. I didn't even know they was mad. Matter of fact, they was leaving the class upset and I didn't even know it. So, but this is here for a reason. Because it will keep down things getting out of hand. He said, moreover, if your brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. And if he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. So this is Jesus talking, right? He giving you a way to handle problems, even to handle sin. He's giving you a way when things are gone contrary to the law. That's what the title is, the law and the enforcement. So it's going to be enforced, right? You're going to go tell them personally. Verse 16.
But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word may be established.
See, now, if you take it to him and he don't hear it, which that happens a lot, because people don't want to hear they wrong. Even I done been in there. People done told me, well, you did something wrong. And I try to make excuses. Then when I think about it later, I say, yeah, they was right. I have to tell them, right? Because naturally, we don't want to hear that I was wrong. We like Fred Sanford. You can't even say the word. You be trying to get it out. You can't even say wrong. But this is what you have to do. So he knows that that's going to be hard. So he said, if he would not hear thee, then take with thee two or more witnesses, one or two more, that in the mouth of two or three witnesses, every word shall be established. They go to witnesses again, right? Just like in the Old Testament, same thing in the New Testament. 17.
And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church.
See, Jesus didn't say, he got an escalation process here, don't he? See, everybody thinks Jesus say just accept anything and you go for anything. They don't know the Jesus of the Bible. They do not know this guy. They don't know him. He told you to deal with your situations. See, and this had to be a lesson for me because personally, I just worry about myself and you keep yours, you keep your foolishness over there. Hey, I won't have nothing to say. But see, the Lord don't give you that luxury, do he? If you know something, if you got to be a witness, he wants you to be a witness, don't he? Then he said, verse 17, and if he shall neglect to hear this, because he know people going to be stiff-necked still, right? You wrong, everybody telling you wrong, but you ain't wrong. And everybody don't have no reason to lie on you. So he know this will happen. If he shall neglect to hear them, he said, tell it unto the church. Now you let everybody know now because this person just want to be stubborn. But what?
But if he neglect to hear the church.
Now he got one last chance. Just like I had to have people, they had to even come up here and apologize to the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, what?
Let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican.
You mean Jesus said that? Jesus said just diss him, huh? This is Jesus, the one that loved everybody. He said treat them like you don't even see them. Treat them like they got a plague. Treat them like something wrong. You mean Jesus wants you to act like this? The one that said love everybody, right? Love your neighbor and love your enemy, right? But he still give you means to stay in his law and have it enforced. So no, we ain't going to stone nobody, but you can do this, can't you? This is what he's telling you to do, right? See, in the old days, they would have been stoned. We understand that. But in the new days, you just put them on ice. He said, let them be as a heathen and a publican man, verse 18.
Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. And whatsoever ye loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
He said, look, the ones I got in charge, they going to call it the way it is. The way they see it on earth, that's the way I'm seeing it in heaven. God is saying that right here. However you bound it on earth, it's bound in heaven and the same way. That's why when Peter spoke to them people, even though Peter got rebuked by the Lord and called Satan, right? But he got his act together. He was corrected. Then when he spoke to them people who was lying, they fell dead at his feet, didn't they? That showed you the Lord was with them. But now go to 1 Corinthians 5. Let's see what Paul, if he understood this. 1 Corinthians 5. And we're almost done. We got a few more after this. 1 Corinthians 5 and verse 1. 1 Corinthians 5. Now this New Testament show you, like the first scripture we read, Jesus said, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law. So that means everything that the Lord is saying is still good. The only difference is how it's being enforced. Because sinners not going to kill sinners. Ain't no need to have sinners kill sinners. Ain't no need to do that. But it's still a way to enforce God's doctrine. 1 Corinthians 5 and verse 1. Go ahead.
It is reported commonly that there is fornication among you, and such fornication as is not so much as named among the Gentiles.
What's that?
That one should have his father's wife. And ye
now notice this. Now notice this. He said it's commonly reported that these people fornicate, and one of the scriptures we read in the Old Testament about not having your father's wife, about it not sleeping with your daughter-in-law and all of that, it's back in the Old Testament. It was a consequence for that. The consequence was death, right? But see, Paul knew he couldn't kill her right now, but it still has to be enforced, brothers and sisters. He said this going to start to run rampant. So now skip down to verse 9, and we're going to see how it's enforced. Go ahead.
I wrote unto you in an epistle not to company with fornicators.
See, he said, look, I done told you, and I'm going to remind you. People can't just fornicate and keep fornicating and nothing happened to them. That's what he's saying here. He said, I wrote unto you in an epistle not to company with fornicators. Go ahead.
Yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or extortioners, or with idolaters, for then must ye needs go out of the world.
See, he wanted to clarify his position. He said, I told you don't company with fornicators. I'm not talking about just, the world is full of fornicators. I ain't saying don't say nothing to no fornicator, period, because you keep your mouth shut all the time in this world. But he said, really, I'm talking about somebody that's supposed to know better, that's supposed to be in the truth. See, this is how you're going to govern the body. It have to be dealt with. So I ain't talking about the fornicators of this world, because you have to lead the world. But now I'm clarifying my position. What's the clarity? Verse 11.
But now I have written unto you not to keep company, if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator or covetous.
See, he named a bunch of stuff. He named a bunch of stuff. And the Lord is merciful. He will give you a chance to repent. But if you don't repent and the Lord starts throwing your stuff out in the street, you know time is up. He said, if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator or covetous or what else?
Or an idolater.
You mean he talking about this stuff in the New Testament? People want to do away with the law in the Old Testament, but the New Testament, they say they New Testament Christian. Well, at least go by this then, right? If you go by this, you going back to the same old law, because he talking the same law and enforcing that law, isn't he?
Right.
If any man be a fornicator, covetous, idolater, what else?
Or a railer.
Or a railer. What else?
Or a drunkard.
Or a drunkard. Go ahead.
Or an extortioner.
Or an extortioner.
With such a one, know not to eat.
See, you can't be a brother and continue to do that. Or a sister. You can't do that. Go ahead.
For what have I to do with For what have I to do to judge them also that are without? Do not ye judge them that are within?
He said, I ain't worried about them without. I'm worried about them that's within. Go ahead.
But them that are without, God judges.
God gonna deal with the ones without, but the ones within, since you in here, we able to deal with you. Go ahead.
Therefore, put away from among yourselves that wicked person.
In other words, you're going to end up without. You end up without where God can deal with you. That's why he said in verse 5, we didn't read it. Read that right quick. See what this all add up to. This is what it all add up to, this enforcement of the law. Go ahead.
To deliver such a one unto Satan for the destruction of the flesh.
See, he's trying to help you and trying to help anybody else who want to get it straight. Keep it straight. He said to deliver such a one unto Satan. That's what he's doing. For the destruction of the flesh, that what?
That the spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord Jesus.
See, perhaps you can be saved if you get punished severely now. But now, go to 2 Timothy 2. 2 Timothy 2. A couple of more after this. 2 Timothy 2. Because he's going to name some other stuff. 2 Timothy 2, we're going to pick it up at verse 15. 2 Timothy 2 and verse 15. He's going to get to some doctrinal issues that he had to deal with. Not just your own personal sins, but now people with bad doctrine that know the truth, then they making up stuff. 2 and 15, go ahead.
Stand and show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
That's what we got to do if we're going to preach the truth. But go ahead.
But shun profane and vain babbling, for they will increase unto more ungodly.
Well, you got a lot of that, profane and vain babblings. But when it creep into the body, to the church itself, then that's when it have to get dealt with. That's supposed to, we know that's wholesale on the outside, but if we walking in spirit and in truth, we should be able to keep that straight. But it's a chance it'll be somebody start talking the wrong thing here, which that has happened. Go ahead.
And their word will eat as does a canker, of whom Hymenaeus and Philetus.
You mean Paul knew these are brothers that was with Paul, and they started teaching something different. We had the same thing happen. I done had to ask brothers to leave who was wanting to teach something different. Had to ask them to leave. Had to name names. Because I told one brother, look, don't say that. Don't be teaching that. Obviously I'm in a disagreement with it. Don't deal with that no. Knew him for years. Don't deal with that no more around here. Then I heard he whispering to somebody else. Look, I've said it before everybody. This brother want to teach this falsehood, be warned. And then he ain't come back no more after that. Called his name, but that's what Paul doing right here, right? See, once you done put out what you believe in and you can bring it to us, if we don't agree with it, we don't agree with it. If it ain't been proved in the scripture. And that's what I'm talking about this brother. That was some of that name teaching years ago. Probably a good 12, 13 years ago. He coming up with, been with us all this time. He gonna come up with some name that, I think you do gotta call a different name. Okay. Well, we ain't gonna do it around here. So just keep that to yourself. But now he didn't want to listen. Out the door. He said, that word will eat as doth a canker, whom is hymenaeus and philitis. Go ahead.
Who concerning the truth have erred, saying that the resurrection is past already, and overthrow the faith of some.
See, they erred from the truth. They was in the truth. They knew the truth. See, I ain't got no problem. I got brothers all over them say they got to say a different name, but then they turn around. The problem comes in when they say, well, the one you calling is wrong. Which utterly makes no sense when we supposedly believe in the same thing. But these brothers had the truth, right? He said, who concerning the truth have erred. Now they had the truth, but they have erred, saying that the resurrection is past and overthrow the faith of some. They overthrow people's faith because they have people confused. They don't know what to believe. But go ahead, 19.
Nevertheless, the foundation of God standeth sure.
See, God know the ones he dealing with. Go ahead.
Having this seal, the Lord knoweth them that are here, and let everyone that nameth the name of Christ depart from iniquity.
See, that's the main thing. You got to depart from sin. You can be calling on a whole different name, but if you still sinning, it don't matter. Go ahead.
But in the great house, there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor.
See, and that's what you have to realize. We got a lesson called in a great house. In a great house, the more people you're dealing with, you're going to have all kinds. And you're going to have some people that's just, we all crazy to a degree, but you're going to have some people go real crazy. And that's the ones you end up having to deal with. That's what he's telling you. In a great house, you're going to have all kinds. That's what we tell people all the time. Don't come here and expect to don't see nothing wrong. You will see something wrong. If you was with Jesus, you would have saw something wrong. Judas was right next to him, eating out the same dish as he was eating. He was right there next to him. So, but whatever it is, it can be dealt with. That's the key. He gives you the means to enforce it, to deal with his law and enforce it. Now, let's go to Revelation 20. And this will be the ultimate enforcement. For people that think that they don't have to keep the law, they really need to do them some research, do some Bible reading. From the first scripture we read, Matthew 17, Matthew 5, starting at 17, Jesus made it clear that he wasn't doing away with no law like a lot of so-called Christians think. He made it clear. But now you get all the way here to Revelation, and he is talking about how he is going to judge you in the end. See, that's why I tell people they might get by, but they haven't gotten away. 20 and 11. Go ahead.
And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life.
What happened to these dead people?
And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works.
Now this is amazing that people think they don't have to do no works, and at very judgment day, he's talking about judging you according to your work. What else he going to judge you according to? If it's not your works. He's telling you right here, all the dead got to answer for what they have done in this body. All of them got to answer. He got books even that he going to open up on you. You see, God don't even play around, do he? He ain't even going to deal with your foolishness because he know you. No, that wasn't me, God. You a lot of God in his face. That's why he even got to have some books for you. No, I don't remember that. Read it. He got books for you. The books were open. Got multiple books, right? Then he got the special book, and if your name not in that one, you finish for the duration. You judge, but you judge all the things which are written in the books according to that word, verse 13.
And the sea gave up the dead which were in it.
See, wherever you dead at, you coming back. Go ahead.
And death and hell delivered up to the dead which were written in them.
Hell in this case is just the grave. Everybody coming back. Wherever you dead at, in the sea, on top of the ground, up in space, floating around as particles, wherever you dead at, you are coming back. You know, some people just get blown away, smithereens, floating around, whatever. Some people get burned, they scatter their ashes. It don't matter. They all coming back. They're in the grave. They coming back. That's hell. The sea, you coming back. You drown. Go ahead.
And they were judged, every man according to their works.
According to their works. Go ahead.
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death.
So the same works that we've been talking about, that God came down on the mountain at this time of year and spoke, he wants you to adhere to his law, don't he?
Right.
That's the criteria. Go ahead.
And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
See, and you can try to call on Jesus if you want to at this time. If your work's not in line, Jesus not going to. Matter of fact, he's going to be the one slam the door on you. He's going to take care of that. Bam. He's going to shut the door. He told you that in Matthew 25. You start knocking on the door too late. After he done shut it, it's too late. 22 and verse 14. This is it. Revelation 22 and 14. Go ahead.
Blessed are they that do his commandments.
See, this is how you're going to be blessed, by keeping his commandments. Same thing he started off on Mount Horeb in Exodus 19 and 20. The same commandments, starting with the 10, and then Jesus even verified that even the least commandments are good. So you might consider not eating pork as a least commandment. Well, you better follow that little commandment. Because he ain't done away with one jot or one tittle, has he? So he said, blessed are they. He didn't say they that call on Jesus, did he? Blessed are they that do his command. See, this is going to be the ultimate enforcement of the law. You going in the lake of fire if you haven't got it together by here. You thought you was worried about something Moses did to you when they stoned you. This is that's why he said you stand in worse jeopardy now. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that what?
That they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city.
That's the only way you're going to get in, by keeping his commandments. And we know what commandments. They have not changed. There are no new commandments that he gave you to replace the old ones. There are no new ones that he gave you. The only new commandment is he was the example on how you need to walk. And he walked by keeping the old commandment. He didn't sin. He didn't break the law at all. But we know it's the same old law, because he said, blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may get in, but who not getting in? Let's see what it's based on. Verse 15.
For without a dog.
Oh, dogs. See, that dogs refer to different things in the Bible. But one of the top of the line dogs is these greedy preachers. Isaiah called them greedy dogs. Philippians, Paul said, beware of dogs. You know who he was talking about? Preachers. Because they will say anything to you to get what you got instead of telling you the truth. That's a low down dog. And they greedy because they always want something. They always want to be fed, but they're not giving us no spiritual food. So that's the big dogs in the Bible. For without our dogs, what else?
And sorcerers.
And sorcerers. That's the psychic people. He don't like that. Go ahead.
And whoremongers.
We know what that is. That's people that's having, people talking about legalists and illegal, where you having illegal sex. Whoremongers. See, again, the Bible don't just talk about whores. It talk about whores, which refer to women, but it talk about whoremongers, which refer to men. It deal with both sides of the coin. And whoremongers, what else?
And murderers.
And murderers. That's self-explanatory, right? Now, keep in mind, these are the people who won't get in. This is when the law will be ultimately enforced, won't it? We talking New Testament, last book in the Bible, last chapter in the Bible. People telling you you ain't got to worry about the law no more. They got to be crazy. For without a dog, sorcerers, whoremongers, murderers, what else? People say you can worship any kind of way. Let's make sure.
And idolaters.
Don't be fooled. You're going to end up on the outside looking in, and it won't be pretty. Idolatry. That ain't even, you ain't killed nobody. You ain't stole nothing. You haven't committed adultery. You just thought you could worship any way you felt like it. Whatever the preacher said, you went along with. That's idolatry. And idolaters, go ahead.
And whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
And you just love making lies. Just lie. Lie at the drop of a hat. See, I used to be like that when I was in the world. I would lie for no reason. I would think back to myself. Even later on that day, I said, why did I tell that lie? I didn't even have to lie. But once you get in the truth, you put away that. You know better than to do that. But if you not really fearing God, you will continue to do that, and guess where you're going to end up? He said, whosoever loveth and maketh life, you're going to be on the outside looking in. Hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name.